Good evening to you. I'm Peter Alexander at MSNBC headquarters in Washington, D.C. We want to update you on some breaking news to tell you about this hour. It is happening in New York City's Times Square, that famed center of activity. Certainly it would be that way on a Saturday night, but tonight a different story. As you can see on the left side of your screen, Times Square has been closed down for what police are referring to as an emergency investigation. Again, this is a live picture right now at what is roughly 11:20 Eastern Time in Times Square. The New York Police Department, or we should say law enforcement sources specifically, are telling WNBC television, our affiliate in New York, that there was a vehicle found earlier this evening, a dark-colored sports utility vehicle, where police responded to a fire in the back of that SUV. And according to these sources speaking to WNBC, they are investigating what they believe to have been several propane tanks, black powder, and a timing device. Again, this information is coming to us from law enforcement sources who are speaking to my colleague, reporter Jonathan Dientz, the investigative reporter at WNBC TV in New York, that police believe there are several propane tanks, black powder, and a timing device that were found inside an SUV, a dark-colored SUV that was seen smoldering, I think we should say. A small fire was at that site a short time ago. These are live pictures from the ground in Times Square right now. The area has been investigated. Our colleague is there on the ground right now. Tommy Yamas, a reporter, is there. He's been reporting over the course of the night. Can we get to Tommy right now? We're going to listen to Tommy Yamas reporting only moments ago. Take a listen.
Yeah, well, first we want to tell our viewers, stay away from Times Square. This is an absolute congested mess. Take a look just behind me. There are people still on the barricades looking to see what's going on. They're about, I'd say, 4 or 5 streets away from the action. Besides the people, take a look at the traffic. It's an absolute nightmare. It stretches all the way down to maybe 50th to 51st Street near Times Square. I'd say there's tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people lined around Times Square right now, and I'd say 95% of them have no idea what's going on.
Again, as we just heard from WNBC local news reporter Tommy Yamas, right now in Times Square in New York City, there is an emergency evacuation in effect. This emergency investigation is following a small fire inside the back of a car where police initially reported seeing a package there. The fire, fortunately, was put out, and to the best of our knowledge at this point, no one has been hurt as a result. Reuters was reporting a short time ago that a man was seen fleeing that vehicle at the time, and that police evacuated blocks around this popular tourist area. That information has not been independently confirmed to NBC News. Again, all of this happening within the last several hours in New York City at Times Square, closed down for this investigation. We are working our sources. The mayor of New York City, Michael Bloomberg, was scheduled and we believe was here in Washington, D.C. for the White House Correspondents Association dinner tonight, a night of levity and a lot of fun for many journalists and politicians, but tonight a very different story, and one that appears to be much more sinister if the early reports that we are learning prove to be true. On the right side of your screen, I believe that is a live picture from Times Square right now. This, both of the shots, in fact, are live. On the left side of your screen, this is that famous iconic image that you're used to seeing normally bustling with activity, with cars and cabs and buses rolling through it, as well as thousands of pedestrians. Instead, tonight, a very different scene. The concern by police initially was not only this vehicle, this sport utility vehicle that they were investigating for what NBC News has been told by law enforcement sources were police believed may have been several propane tanks, black powder, and a timing device, but also the concern for law enforcement officers for the fact that they could have been that there could have been other vehicles or other devices of some concern in that area, and that's exactly why police have shut it down right now. Not only to secure that area, but to secure it in case there are other items, other potential explosive devices in that range. Our Justice Department correspondent Pete Williams is walking into the building as we speak. He's going to join us now with the latest information that he has. But right now we want to again go to Tommy Yamas, our reporter from WNBC, as we join his live report from WNBC in progress.
I think they're going to block off 47th Street completely. They've just kind of extended these police barriers because people were so close to those barriers barriers, and for some reason, maybe it's intelligence, maybe it's for safety, they're now pushing people back even further. We do want to mention around 9:15, 9:30, we did hear some type of controlled explosion. That's what it sounded like. We know that the bomb squad is still out here conducting their investigation, making sure everything's safe. We are seeing more police on the ground at this moment. We are seeing more cops coming out here to assist some of the Times Square security guards, along with the NYPD that have been out here for hours. I do want to mention, before I send it back to you guys in the studio, patience is running thin. The Marquee Hotel, which is one of the biggest hotels in Times Square, is not allowed to let its patrons in, the people who are staying at the hotel. It's been 3 hours now, and some people are trying to get into their hotel rooms, and they cannot, so they're going to have to figure out a plan to get these people either into the hotel or to accommodate them out here in Times Square. That's the very latest. Tom Yamas, News 4 New York. Back to you guys in the studio.
Again, that was Tommy Yamas reporting from Times Square in New York City right now. As he just noted, one of the concerns right now is what do you do with all of these tourists, many of whom are in a position where they cannot cross over to their hotels or to their destinations, wherever those may be, as it approaches the midnight hour, now close to 11:30 p.m. on the East Coast, again, as this emergency evacuation, this emergency investigation takes place in that area. He referred to what sounded like a controlled explosion. We are working our sources at MSNBC and NBC News to try to find out any more confirmation. The police department is not confirming the information, but our own investigative reporter Jonathan Dienst did report just a short time ago that law enforcement sources are telling him, and this really is the headline at this point, that they believe there are several propane tanks, black powder, and a timing device inside that SUV, that vehicle. The bomb squad is on site right now, which is exactly why we don't know more for you. They're trying to confirm exactly what is there, and of course their priority is public safety before it is releasing all of that information to the media. As soon as they do, as soon as we know more, of course we will share that to you. Is this a live picture right now as I speak to our producers in my ear? This is a live shot, as we like to refer to it, in Times Square, one of the traffic cams, as they're called on your local news at night when they show you the traffic around town. And this is Times Square like, frankly, I've never seen it before. It's next to never that you see Times Square simply abandoned, almost vacant. The only thing in that shot right now, a place where millions gather to watch the ball drop at New Year's, and thousands, tens of thousands flood it each day as they go to Broadway, they go to many of the shows in town, the restaurants, and others. Instead, today it is nearly silent, but for the sirens that are sounding throughout that area, and the public gathering up in corners, the tourists being hoarded into areas to try to stay out of the way as they investigate. Police do any new information about exactly what is taking place in Times Square. From the look of it from this angle, it appears this is obviously not just one block they have shut down, but multiple blocks, several blocks, where you can imagine there would be a lot of people. We're also working to find out new information about any impact on the subway stations throughout that part. This is home to numerous subway stations, including, well, one to name it is the one train that goes right through there, stopping not far from Times Square. There are other stops at 34th, just below this, and other stops at 50th, which is only a short distance away from NBC News headquarters at 30 Rock, which is why folks like myself are so familiar, because we simply pass through this area on a regular basis. Again, we're working to get new information, and as I talk to you right now, I'm going to try to update you on what more we know. The officer, apparently, who spoke to Reuters a short time ago, said that law enforcement at the scene of the SUV, which was, as we noted, smoking at the time, and from which there were popping sounds, as it was described, heard earlier, this officer said to Reuters that it was being treated, the vehicle was being treated as a, quote, failed device. And that's why this is such a grave concern, because the fear is that if there is another device, if there are any other devices in that area, they want to be able to stop them before there's the potential for them to explode, or for anything else of that sort to happen right now. Again, live pictures on both sides of your screen. Well, now on the left side of your screen from Times Square, this is a look on the right side from only a short time ago, when many tourists from across America gathering on this last weekend, or I guess we should say first weekend of May. It is nearly empty right now. We're going to try to get to my colleague Jonathan Dienst.